we as older coaches have a responsibility to mentor these guys and pour into them and invest in them. And I know I learned from Todd Allison. I learned from a bunch of other good coaches besides my uncles that really made a difference in what I believe in and how I go about doing this.
Hello, everyone. This is Tim Brown from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Central Ohio, and I am just so excited about this conversation. As you can see the faces on the screen, how happy they are. You know, one big happy family. One big happy. We're having a coaches reunion. You know, the coaches reunion today, and so I'm just so excited to have this conversation of some gray hairs, some veteran coaches. You know, who are going to share a little wisdom and knowledge. You guys want to kind of introduce yourself? If you would, then we'll go and get rolling.
Yeah, sure. I'm Ry DeRazio, and I've been part of the DeRazio family for 66 years.
All right. I'll take that.
Yeah. And I've been blessed to be able to coach a few years, not like Dan and Mark on here who've been coaching a long, long time, but I've been blessed by that. And so I'm excited to be on here.
Great. How about you, Dan?
Dan DeRazio, even though I don't look it, I'm the youngest of the five siblings, and I taught and coached for a number of years at Cuyahoga Heights. Was most of my coaching. Mm-hmm. I did join Mark for a couple of years at North Olmsted, coaching football, but I coached, football, some basketball over the years, and some track. And I retired recently. I've done even a little golf coaching recently. Okay. I wouldn't call it much coaching. I just supervise.
Right.
And but I'm having fun with that.
Good for you. Mark, you way down in Georgia. We got to bring you back up and get some of this snow. I know you miss it.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I miss family, but I don't miss shoveling that white stuff. That's for sure, Tim.
Right. Tell us a little about yourself, Mark.
We're currently down here just north of Atlanta in Kennesaw, Georgia at North Cobb Christian School. Mm-hmm. Just finished our 5th year down here and, had the opportunity to learn from guys like Dan and Uncle Ry. Both these guys are my uncles. And I think this is year 31 in coaching. So just like Dan, done basketball, football, track, a little bit of everything.
Oh, great. That's good stuff. Fellas, how was it growing up in a sports family? In a sports family. Right? How was that? How was that growing up you and Dan and passing that on to Mark? How was that growing up in a sports family?
Well, I was the youngest for a while because Dan, what are you, 7, 8 years younger?
Yeah, 7 years younger.
Yeah. And so, you're trying to keep up with your older brothers. Mm-hmm. I have 2 older brothers, and my brother, Tony's close 3 years. And so, it's competitive. It's very competitive, and that's what you did all day. And you're always trying to keep up and, one up your brother, particularly the one that's closest to you, right?
Right.
So it was fun. But also, it's put the challenge out there, which I loved. It always keeps you on not on edge, but it always keeps you trying to strive. And I appreciate that. They set the standards high, set the bar high. And it's something that you want to go after and attain. And I looked up to my brothers. They were like the people I looked up to and kind of your heroes.
Right. It's good stuff. Dan, I understand you're the bocce champion of the family.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I enjoy playing, though, and I get lucky once in a while.
Yeah. How was that?
I was the family bocce. We that may be something that should be on the Ocho, maybe ESPN, the Ocho, because that may be the most entertaining thing we do as a family. But you got to put mics on us to listen to what we're saying and working with each other,
Right.
A lot of trash talking.
A lot of trash talking, but not in your normal trash talking way. You got to listen carefully.
Right. I'm sure of that.
That's for sure. But yeah, we were even competitive doing that. Now I'm quite a bit younger. So my oldest brother, Vince, who I never really watched play or remember watching play. I'm sure I went, Ry, and watched him play. But I don't remember that because I was so young. He's so much older than me. I remember making the drive to Ada a couple times, but I really don't remember watching him play. But everybody I talked to, not just my brothers, but like people in the city of Avon, like he was the man. He was the main man on campus and very athletic, and he still is to this day. But then I do remember watching, Rye play and my brother Tony, going to their high school games, and it was just kind of something you were just going to do. You were just going to go, you were going to play sports and play in the yard and, and all that stuff and play at family outings. And it just kind of is what you did. And when I was, our kids were younger, in fact, my son looked up to Rye's son, Matt, because when he was young, we'd take him to watch all of Matt's games. So like that was it. So it just kind of, that's the way it was. And I know what Mark's going to be saying here soon. He's going to continue that, going to watch the family play.
Right. Good. So what was that like for you, Mark?
As a young guy, I remember looking forward to Friday nights. Grandpa Durazio, that was my big Friday night date. Every Friday night, Grandpa would take me and we'd go watch Dan play. He's playing at Elyria Catholic High School. And I mean, that was something that you look forward to each and every week. And I remember not only seeing him play, but after the game, being able to go, around the locker room, meet some of the players. In fact, Dan just came down this past season, and he invited a player that he played with, a great football player, Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker. I was going to say Tim Walker. That's the guy who played for me. Johnny Walker, and it all came full circle. I remember seeing Johnny Walker come out of the locker room, and he was a big guy, and you were impressed by that. And just like Dan and Rye said, I think, growing up, I heard so much about my uncles and what they did, and it made you compete, but it also gave you a sense of responsibility, like, hey, you got to do this the right way. There's guys that came before you and did this right. Now you got to do it right.
Wow, that's a powerful statement there, and that standard that was set, and even in the fact that there's some accountability goes with the family name. I'm just reminded of what that stands for and what that means, and it sounds like I'm sure those rides with Grandpa was a great time for you. I'm sure of that.
It was. I'm
sure that was a great time for you. As we flip to, I know all of you guys have been involved with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, with FCA. And I know, Mark, you're involved, Rise executive director here, and Dan with Huddles. How has FCA impacted? What impact have you seen FCA have on your teams throughout the years?
Dan, that's a good one for you.
Yeah. When I started coaching and teaching in 85, and I learned about the FCA in the early 90s, and went at a coach's clinic, went to an FCA breakfast. It was one of those, met Frank Streeter and kind of started getting involved in FCA. And then we started a huddle at our school, and it was very powerful because the kids had another way of connecting besides on the field. And then what we started, I was head coach for, a few years. And then when I stepped down, now we had our FCA huddle that met with the whole school. But then we started meeting. We had like just a football chapel, and some of those kids went to your FCA huddle meeting, but some didn't. They just came to the football. It was like a FCA for football, and that really was a big impact over the years. I mean, on those kids, because I didn't really run it. We had 2 or 3 other coaches that got involved, and we'd all switch. And like our superintendent would come and speak, the band director would come and speak, the Spanish teacher would come and speak. Rye came and spoke. Everyone, anyone, we'd have come and talk to the kids on that, that pregame chapel. But it was very powerful. And like the years we were lucky enough to get down to the state championship game, Rye, you were at that one meeting, and it was just, it like that. I remember the one coach said, he said after the meeting, he goes, well, we won already. It doesn't matter what happens on the field tomorrow. Because we did it Friday night. We had to do it because the game was at 11 in the morning.
Right,
So just schedule wise, but like he walked out of the room and I had coached him at Heights. And, he was part of the chapels, an FCA and his family, but he goes, we won already. It doesn't matter what happens. I love, like, that was his, He goes, we walked out of the room. It didn't matter. Like it, and we ended up not winning the game, but I mean, like, it didn't, like, the kids were so in touch, and it has a big impact though.
Tim, something that I'm not sure even Dan realizes how big of an impact it had. When Dan came to North Olmsted, I think that was 2000 was our first year together at North Olmsted High School. And North Olmsted High School probably had about 15% of our student body was Arabic Muslim. And then our football team, we probably had about 65 to 70 players each year. And I'd say 5 of the kids were practicing Muslims, and Dan brought the FCA kind of chapel model to our school. We did the, pregame chapel on Friday nights. And, after Dan left, we were able to keep that going. And by the time Dan left, those Arabic Muslim kids were coming to chapel and taking full part, because we'd say the Lord's Prayer before the game, and we'd say to the kids, listen, you don't have to do this. And I'll never forget, the kids said, hey, Coach, we're going to do this because you respect us as well. Every August, those kids were going through Ramadan, and there was, just going back to Dan's point, FCA served as a unifier for our team, even bringing those two different cultures together. And I always appreciated what Dan brought to us at North Olmsted, and it had a huge impact. I think those Friday chapels unified our team beyond what people might realize.
Yeah.
One of the blessings and just knowing your family is that not only did it impact the players on the team, but also impacted your own children as well. Being a part of that. And I think we kind of overlooked the fact that here's Dad coaching the team, and he when our children are playing or whatnot, and we're part of FCA, it just gives them, I really believe it does something for them. I really believe it does something for them to see their parents, as spiritually grounded, as well. And I really believe that it impacts those other guys on the team, meaning that now those guys have they got coach, but now they have a go-to player, so to speak. When they have those challenging situations, they know they can come talk to one of their teammates, to help them along that way. And so leading to that, how is it coaching your children? How is that, Dan, how was that coaching your children?
Oh, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I couldn't imagine not doing it, honestly, because you know how it is nowadays when they were going, Little League baseball. I never really helped in soccer too much. It wasn't much of a soccer, but I'd help a little when they were really young. But, I'd help in little baseball. I did that a little while. I'd do basketball a little more. I would coach. Most of them I coached through 8th grade. And then even some of them, 2 of them as freshmen, I coached. And then I coached them all in football in high school and even a little middle school. But I can't imagine not doing it. It was just kind of like something you did. They were always, when we went to see games, like we talked about earlier, they were always there, and then, and they were just part of it. And they were sitting there in chapels and looking up, not necessarily to me. They would see their heroes. They're out on the football field in there,
right?
Because maybe my son might have been 8 years old. He's looking up to the kid who's playing quarterback at that time. You know what I mean? And that kid's in there praying, and it's like, oh wow! Not only Dad, you know what I mean? It's more. They actually had more of an impact. But I can't imagine not coach. It was a blessing, that's for sure. And it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. And whatever. I just can't imagine not doing it. And when I got to coach with Mark, that was even better. It was fun. We got to do that, and we tried to get our uncle to come. We couldn't do that, but yeah, it was great. Like Rye said too, we got a lot done in the car on the way home and back in football season.
Hey, Rye, how was that hanging out over at the sales for a while there?
That was good. They have a great tradition, and Bob Jacoby was the head coach when I first coached there. We are what we put our time to and where we invest our resources, right? And Bob took time. It was very important to him, and he took a lot of time. And we went away for 3 days, and a lot of it, we did some good football, but he really made sure a lot of ministry went on. And it was just part of the fabric at the sales, and Bob was a great leader in that. And of course, that's one of the main reasons I love football. Football is a primary sport in our family, but it was really an opportunity to, what I call, it's an eternal return on your investment. So, to do that, the main reason there was hopefully to just impact some young men's lives, with the gospel of Jesus Christ and faith, and be able to encourage them. And so it was a blessing to be there, because, the kids, they're looking for it. Everybody's got pain somewhere, no matter who you are. And, and the kids really, at certain times in their life, they really needed it. And, the biggest blessing is, I'm with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes now. Tim and I are peers. We work together. We serve together. There's a couple of our board members are former players. And it's just good. And, the one says, hey, I still remember the verse. As a quarterback coach, I used to make them memorize verses, send it home when they come to the meeting. They got more ripped for that if they didn't memorize their verse than if they did something else wrong. Right. We had fun with it. Right. And Jason still remembers that verse from those days. So it's exciting that way to be able to impact and share your faith, as well as a highly competitive, sports.
Right. Mark, you're down there in SEC country, down there in Georgia. Well, you down there with the big dogs. You right down the road from where Trevor Lawrence played and Justin Fields. So you down there with some good football. How's that been coaching your son?
Tim, it's been a blessing. Just like, what Dan was saying, I couldn't see it any other way. I'm very thankful for the opportunity. He just, wrapped up his senior year of football, and, we got to play 12 games this year. In a COVID year, we didn't have any games canceled. It was, we're just very thankful that God provided that opportunity. And it didn't hit you. I mean, when you're going through it, you don't really, not that you don't appreciate it, but I'll tell you, when that final game wrapped up, it really hit you that you had some time to reflect on the journey. And it just, not every dad gets a chance to spend that much time with their son. And unfortunately for Ben, not only was I his position coach, I was the head coach. So that poor kid, I know he's looking forward to getting out and spreading his wings, but I think we both appreciated time spent together. We've had a lot of good time. And just like Dan said, we had about a 25-minute ride home each day. And, sometimes those rides were better for him than other days. But, we do 6 in the morning lifting and in the off season, and it's not the same, to be honest with you, driving in without him. It really isn't. I miss that already.
That's good.
Wait a minute. You mean he's not lifting?
he is, but he's not coming to all the 6 a.m.
Not at 6 a.m.
I'm going to have to text him.
Not at 6 a.m. Fellas, you guys have been in this game for a while. What change have you seen in athletes as far as their needs? I think Ryan hit on that. A lot of things that young people are dealing with today that maybe back when you first started. Well, what kind of changes have you seen in athletes, and particularly some of the things that they need to be successful?
And we were kind of talking about this before, we started, we're throwing it around. They do need to be loved more so, I think, than they used to. But they still want discipline, and they're still looking for stuff. Yeah. They're still looking for that leadership and someone to hold them accountable. You kind of got to do it in a little different way. And if they see, this is why I think the FCA chapels have been so good, because they see the coaches. Now, not all the coaches would go at our school, but they would see us vulnerable and opening up, and sometimes getting teary-eyed about whatever we're talking about that week, and whatever the case is. And they would see you as a human, kind of. And I think that helped when you said something and got on them. You know what I mean? It was it helped. Then they realized, they they still love me because I remember what he said in FCA. And actually having back to coaching our kids, my 3 kids took it worse, got the worst of me over anyone, unfortunately for them. You know what I mean? And coaching them and yelling at them and stuff. But sometimes that actually helped the other kids. They go, whoa, he's getting on he's really getting on Lucas here. We better shape up or Lucas is going to get killed. Because they kind of knew sometimes it wasn't Lucas's fault. You know what I mean? So, but kids do, you know what I mean? They want the structure, but you do, I think, have to love them more, where before you would just kind of just get after it more.
Mm-hmm. What are you seeing, Mark?
I think the key is building relationships with kids today. You know, Tim, you referenced this in our pre-meeting. You know, back in our day, the coach told you to do something, you did it, no questions asked. You didn't go home and complain to your parents because your dad was going to tell you to do what the coach told you. That is not the case today. And in order to coach kids hard, which I do believe in order to be successful, you've got to demand excellence of these kids. But without the relationship piece, you know, I don't think it's possible today. And, you know, the kids have to know, and that's how we've built our program here. We love each other and we're not ashamed to talk about it, you know, and love can mean a lot of different things. Sometimes it's coming alongside of them. Sometimes it's like Dan said, making yourself vulnerable in front of the players. But it also means holding them accountable. But without that relationship piece, without them truly knowing you love them, you know, they don't respond as well when you coach them hard without that, I don't think.
Without that relation.
Yeah.
I really believe that. Rob, can you speak to our FCA coaches ministry and some of the things that we're trying to accomplish there that kind of bridge that gap, so to speak, and for this generation?
Yeah, for sure. Sure, Chip. You know, coaches around there, you think about a coach, they have administrative, you know, there's administration they're talked to all the time. They're dealing with parents, right? They're dealing with those athletes, like Mark and Dan said, there's a time. It just takes time to do those relationships. So someone's got to pour into those coaches' lives. Mm-hmm. You know, they have families and they have a marriage out there, particularly football. We're crazy. We think we got to spend more time than anybody else. So, you know, the coaches ministry is huge for FCA. You know, we minister to and through the coach. And the idea is help them and disciple them for their family, to make them a strong Christian. That's the number one thing that we do. You spend time. And, you know, relationships, Mark mentioned it, it just means time. It means being unconditional love and being there for them. So, you know, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, that's our focus, is really to relationship with coaches and help them come into a relationship with Jesus Christ and then be able to disciple them through that. And that's really the key thing. And just like Dan and Mark, I've seen them coach. You know, they're absolutely in my list of favorite coaches because they're authentic and the real deal. And they have a lot of impact. They're great football people. Believe me, they'll know X's and O's and they have a lot of excellence. But their best thing is it's their relationship with Christ, and that comes through. So their music's always right with the kids. That you can see they have the heart for the kids and true love. So we like to help coaches be able to do that and be able to coach that way, because they'll have the most impact on their kids and their family if they're a follower of Jesus Christ.
That's good stuff. Fellas, this has been really good. As we begin to wrap up, could each one of you speak to speak to a young coach and what they need to have some staying power to stick around? Because I'm looking at 20, 30-year coaches. Speak to these young coaches and what qualities do they need to possess in order to stick around this game?
Wow. That is a tough one. I mean, you have to enjoy the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever game it is. It's not necessarily football. Whatever you are coaching, you have to enjoy it and just enjoy that particular sport. But then two, you have to be willing to invest in those kids, like we had just talked. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to do that. And, worry more about the kids versus the wins and losses to me. Mm-hmm. And that just means that maybe, making them better practice players, showing them how you take the sport into your real life. Football, I think, does that so well. you know, how it crosses over to real life so much with the ultimate team sport and all those kind of things. But so you got to like your sport. You got to be willing to invest the time in the kids. And yet you don't have to take it too serious. Like Rye said, football coaches think we got to spend more time than anyone.
Right.
You got to take time for your family. And if you don't have a coach's wife, it's going to be tough. Mark, I know you got the ultimate coach's wife in Tracy, and that is important. Like if you're not married, they have to understand what they're getting into, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's something you better bring up kind of early, and it is important because I've seen a lot of guys who were good coaches, and it just didn't work out, and it was a battle always. You know what I mean? They didn't seem to understand, and it makes it hard. It makes it very difficult on both ends.
That's Dan. You're right on that last one. You know, I worked for a guy who is a Central Ohio guy, Todd Alice, who used to be over at Dublin, and
Mm-hmm.
I worked for Todd at Sandusky Perkins, and I was a young coach coming out of college, and Todd had gotten married for the 4th time there, and he's still married to Karen now. This, you know, I think it's about 30 years later now, but he had spent a lot of time with me telling me, he said, "Hey, listen, coach, I made some mistakes. I put football before my family, and it was a really impactful thing for me as a young coach that I wanted to make sure that I knew this was my life calling. I wanted to make sure my spouse was in on that." So Dan's point is well taken. I would add to this saying 2 things. Number one, I think go seek some good mentors. I think so many young coaches today are consumed with climbing the ladder and being a coordinator, being a head coach. And I just think sometimes we focus on the wrong things, where I think we as older coaches have a responsibility to mentor these guys and pour into them and invest in them. And I know I learned from Todd Alice, and I learned from a bunch of other good coaches besides my uncles that really made a difference in what I believe in and how I go about doing this. And I just think that there should be a focus on not necessarily taking the higher paying job always, or taking the position with the bigger title. Get latched in with the right people. That will make all the difference in the world for you. And then the second thing would be, you know, just stay the course. You got to have thick skin in this profession, especially today. You know, when I think of other sports, I think basketball to me is a little tougher to coach in some ways. What I mean by that is I feel like the parents are more involved. As a football coach, you know, my parents they're sitting farther removed on a Friday night. There seems to be a respect to leave the football coaches alone and let me do my job, where I go to basketball games. I watch what some of these basketball coaches put up with, and it's harder. And I really think you need thick skin, and you got to stay the course. You got to stay true to what you believe in, because really what Ryan and Dan were saying, ultimately you're in it for the kids, and you can't let those things get you out of, you know, making an impact on the kids' lives.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
What have you say?
Yeah, I'll add to that, just Tim, and, you know, obviously Dan and Mark have a lot more experience than I do. But, you know, the key thing is your why. You know, to add on to that is just why you're really there, and what's the primary reason you're there. And when you have that right, what Dan and Mark both said, they're really there for the kids, it'll make a big difference for you. And your whole spirit will be different. You'll put things in a perspective different. The wins, the losses, even the wins you put in the right perspective. Everybody talks about the losses. Well, you know, sometimes we didn't put our wins in the right perspective, and it came back to get us. And so I always look at what's your why. I'd add to that what Dan and Mark said, is just make sure you understand why you're there to coach.
Wow.
Hey, Tim, something I wanted to piggyback off what Rye said earlier, just so FCA knows what you mean to us. I'm at a Christian school, so we don't have an FCA huddle. But I want to just give a quick shout out. Scott Pope is our FCA guy for Cobb County, and I can't tell you how much it means to me as a coach for him to shoot me a text, or you're walking off the field on a Friday night and there's Scott Pope at your game. He always has a word of encouragement. And like Rye was saying, there's times you can get distracted on what's important. You can get frustrated with how your season's going. And to have that FCA guy encouraging you throughout the year, I'm just telling you, Scott Pope, his little text, his stopping by and just dropping off food for our team, it is an encouragement. It means the world. So I want to thank him and FCA. Those little things go a long way for the coaches.
That's good. I'm glad you said that, because your good uncle up there is good at that, right? He has this guy every Friday, Coach Maddox at Walnut Ridge, gets that text, before the game. Rye may not see him, may not be at the games, but he looks forward to that, and he always looks forward to it. So you're right on point with that. And as we wrap up, I just want to close with this. First, I want to thank you guys for this opportunity to share your wisdom, share your experience. But most importantly, I want to thank you for being not just good football coaches, but great fathers, great husbands, and I think we hit on that, how important that is, because a lot of times we can get involved in this and we can lose our families. We get so poured in everybody else's child, and our kids are looking at us, what about me, Dad? What about me? But you guys haven't done that. And that's so important, especially in today's times, and I really appreciate you guys for that. And I know that there's a lot more DeRozios coming down the pipe. All those sons you have, I know they're going to want to coach one day. They're going to want to be just like you, and they're going to remind you of them days too. But that, that's, it kind of goes, I think it was Mark was saying how it goes full cycle. You'll see some guys, and now you see when they get older, and then your kids will be those ones coaching now, and you'll be the ones in the stands, cheering them on or holding their clipboard for them, It's really a blessing, man. And so I just want to thank you guys for that. And lastly, I want to encourage the coaches and even adults, everyone that's watching, to not just take care of your physical self, but take care of your spiritual self as well. Get plugged in, get plugged into a coaching mentor, but also get plugged into a spiritual mentor, someone that you can count on when those times come, because we know that only what we do for Christ will last. All this other stuff's going to fade away. And I think Rye said, what's your why? And we're in this for the Lord. We're in this to make disciples. We're in this to be that example, to show that love. And this whole conversation has been about love. And we're about showing that love of Jesus Christ, because there's no greater love than Jesus dying on that. God sent his son Jesus down that cross for our sins. There's no greater love. And I'm so excited to be around. And I just get excited when I get to talk to fellow believers. I don't apologize for that. I get excited when I'm around fellow believers in Jesus Christ, because I want everybody to see that we can have joy, that we do have joy. We had an unspeakable joy. We can laugh, and just have a good time in the Lord. In the right way. And so I want to thank you guys for it, and I appreciate your time. And I'm looking forward to get invited to the bocce game. I might have to set up and practice, because I'm going to be ready now. You ain't going to push me around. I'm letting you know that now.
I don't know if you're ready for that, Tim. I don't know.
Don't estimate me now. Hey,
Tim, if I may, I just want to tell everybody out there that we appreciate you. We appreciate you doing these videos. Yeah. Obviously, I'm involved in FCA because of you, because I saw how you love young people, and that's where your spirit was. And you've been doing that for over 20 years. So thank you very much for doing this, and the many you've done besides our videos. So we appreciate you very much.
Yes, Tim, that's for sure. And you too, Rye.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. And Tim, like you said, how Rye sends the text, every Friday to those coaches. Well, Mark and we get a phone call every Friday. And sometimes Rye, he would call during our chapel. I go, Rye, I'm at chapel. I got to go to chapel.
You get the real deal. Right, Andy, with just win, baby.
Yeah. But the Rye's biggest concern when he called me, though, was he tried to call me when I was at the Italian deli getting my sub sandwich, because he wanted to know what I was eating that week.
That's it.
Oh, man, that's funny. I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks for your time, man. It's been
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you for all you're doing.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, we talk soon. See ya.